Hi guys, welcome back to week 2 of Kitchen Chronicles. We are now allowing some guests to hit up the kitchen with us. So I'm going to introduce my guests and then we'll get started on this week's episode. So I am Andriette Anderson. I am the founder and CEO of She Went Incorporated, and this is my lovely husband, Winton Anderson. You can tell the people who you are, what you do, why you're here.
I'm here so that I don't get fired. So I'm excited.
Good answer.
I have learned. So here to hopefully help somebody today, be honest, truthful, transparent, in hopes of helping maybe you in your relationships or wherever you may be. So that's who I am. That's what I'm doing.
We're going to keep you for another week. You're not fired. Thank you.
All right, here we go.
Your turn.
And I am your girl, Ashley Hanchin. I am joined by my adoringly intelligent, handsome, just all around loving husband, Paul Hanchin Sr. Esquire. People, say hello.
Sound like you already introduced.
Minor detail.
Well, I'm Paul Hanchin. I'm here in support of my wife and
Beautiful, loving wife.
And this like I think this is going to be some great information and opportunity for us to have some genuine expressions and hopefully help somebody out pass on.
I love that.
Like
okay,
he said,
so
he
guys,
wasn't going to get fired. He didn't say he was going to get fired. See, he didn't tell the people that.
When
I got you in a chokehold.
Call us Esquire. Yeah, it's Esquire.
But we already made it known.
What I love about this week's episode, not only is that we're bringing the husbands in, but the fact that our foursome gets to get together. Because what I love about our dynamic is that it's so complementary of each other. You have Winton and I, who are more similar in terms of personality, right? And then you have Andriette and Paul, who are far more similar in personality. However, Andriette and I obviously vibe and connect off of the motherhood piece and the wife piece and just being sane people. And then you have Winton and Paul, who connect on a lot of their thoughts as well, whatever, their viewpoints. So I love the fact that when we all get together, we always have such great, deep conversation about just marriage and life and normalizing our struggles, right?
Amen.
So I want to jump straight on into it because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, so today we're talking about marriage and the ish we wish we knew, right? I think growing up in a Black household, we always have the idea of, hey, if grown folks are talking, the kids need to exit the room, right? And then you have social media today where you have everyone online posting how perfect and pretty their marriage is, and no one's actually normalizing or talking about the struggles that we go through to help people understand, like, you have to fight for this. This is not going to be always peaches and cream. You won't always get your way, but it is about compromise and dedication and commitment to one another, right? So today we thought it would be fun to chat with our husbands about what we learned in our marriage. So let's just dive right on in. So question number 1, guys, not to put you on the hot seat, but we are. What is it that made you guys really realize that we're the ones?
I would say for me, just the connection that we had when we met. I feel like the connection that I had with you was something that I've never had with any other woman that I've been with. So, and you just felt like home. When I'm around you, it was just the comfortability that was there. I could just open up and be myself, and the comfort level and the connection, I think, was the biggest piece for me.
Oh, you're totally getting points on this. Okay, go ahead, Wendy.
Still the biggest piece, but we're talking past tense. So.
Listen, you got a lot to back up. So let's serve this up really well. What you got, buddy? What you got?
I think that friendship was important first, right? So we were friends first, not in the very beginning, but we became friends. And I think that we kind of rode that friendship wave for quite a while. And I think in friendship versus starting in romantic relationship, I think that friendship allows some nuances and some different things for you to see without like the eye that you would be looking for if you were looking like, is this a wife? Is this a husband? And so I think the friendship was the number one piece. And then I think those tested moments, like we had some tested moments that were individual moments where we showed up for each other, but still at that time did not bear the weight of the title of like formal relationship. And so I think how somebody shows up with you and for you has a lot to do with how you perceive them.
He went all the way to the book.
He did.
He did. So deep.
And that was a great answer. Good answer.
Thanks, Ash.
And how someone shows up for you is such a good point, because I remember feeling what I coined it as femininity, right? I've always been feminine, if you will, but something about Paul when we were dating, and now, but especially when we were dating, that I noticed I was able to let my guard down with him. I was able to be feminine in a way that I had never yet been with any of my exes. No shade to my exes. Some of them are great men. However, they don't compare to my husband.
Some of them.
Right?
Shade to the ex.
However, what I will say, it was the way Paul protected me that I noticed first. And I think that's where I was able to drop that wall down. Because you too, Andriette, I think we're both independent women. We always, not necessarily alpha female, but in the sense of, if something's going to get done, do it ourselves. We can, manage whatever we need to manage stuff. We just handle our business at the end of the day. But having him while we were dating it showed me just another element of partnership and what that was like. And I didn't have to worry about, even now, so I don't have to worry about the household, for example. Paul handles that. I don't even think about it. I'm able to just be present and focus on the kids and our relationship and myself and whatever I choose to be present with. Right. But that's something that I don't think I've ever really experienced with someone else. So thank you for that, honey.
Oh, he lets you be super girly.
He lets me be girly. Well, just drop the guard down.
Yeah, I think with Winton, I was able to feel safe. Like, I never really felt safe. Like, I didn't feel like I was out on the limb and people were gonna let me get hit by a car. But like, I remember when we were friends, like I would be crossing the street and he would do this, and I'm like, bruh, like, it's just a crosswalk. Like, I got it. I can see. But I realized that it wasn't that he was saying that I couldn't handle it. He was protecting me in like the smallest spaces. And he's even like that now. Like, I used to think that he would like not include me on things because he didn't want me to be aware of them, but he was trying to protect me from like maybe fallout or, any of the like crazy nuances. He is such a protector to a fault. Like, it is nothing for him to say, like, I don't want you to go here because this is probably what's going to happen, because this is the front story, or no, you don't have to do that. I got the kids. It's protecting my peace. It's protecting my exhaustion. Like, it's all the things that I don't necessarily feel like I think about on a day-to-day basis. But when you ask the question, it literally is safety for me. Like, I feel 110% safe with him, which is why when you're not around and I'm like, where are you? Like, when are you coming home? Are you good? It's not that I think you're doing anything wrong. It's that I don't feel safe when you're not present. And your presence in our household or your presence near me makes me feel safe. And that's how I knew you were the one. Because all these other scum buckets, I was like, pieces. See you when I see you.
Look.
They don't know who they are unless they know who they are.
Let's go ahead and call them out. Everybody.
The petty.
So we talked about like all we started with like the how we knew, but I think it's important to always remember how you knew, because you don't think about it when you're going through the hard lessons in life. So like, I know we've kind of gone through our litany of hard lessons, but like, what are your top 5 like hard lessons that you think marriage has taught you or us?
So I think omission of information sometimes is more detrimental than kind of hitting something head on.
Okay. That's interesting coming from a man. So I want to hear this.
So I think in the vein of protection, there were things that I would not say because I didn't think that Andriette could handle those things. When we met, she was a crier. That was how she released. And even now, she's going to cry. She's a little better.
I don't cry as much now. We're going to fight you.
She doesn't cry as much.
We fight.
She doesn't cry as much. But that was how she released information. And so to me, rather than me seeing it as a release, I was just kind of like, this means she's devastated. This means X, Y, and Z. And so there would be things that I probably should have said. And I'm not talking about like crazy stuff. I mean, like just really small stuff. To me, that was small. Do you want me to go here with me? And the answer for me would have been a no. But instead of saying a no, I may have said something like a yes, or maybe, and it may have thrown off the whole thing. I don't know. It was small. Now, I do remember the first time I said something like that, and it didn't go well either, right? Because I think at the end of the day, but I couldn't stifle who I was or my feelings, and furthermore, be untruthful, right? And so I think that's kind of what was a major lesson for us. And from that, we gathered the dynamic of our relationship, which is that we are not created to be up under each other 24/7. While we do have friends who coexist, who literally are codependent on each other, and if one moves, the other one is almost out of breath. But we became okay knowing that that's just not us, and we're good with that.
I think that point ties into my top, like one of my top lessons when it comes to like compromise and like working together, is knowing that we have to have space for each other to evolve and be naturally who we are. Like Winton likes to be out and about and, with a group of people. Coming from him being an only child, I am so okay with being at home in my bed, watching TV with kids doing their own thing. I don't have to be out.
And I'd like to say for the record, my out looks a whole lot different in 2023 than it did in 2010, 11, 12. So my version of out is 2 hours in Rouse's right about now.
Or I'll give you that a little bit.
Yeah, or sitting. I can't say that on this thing.
No, you can't. I mean, he has his top 3 friends that he'll hang with, but I think one of our harder lessons was knowing that we're going to all evolve and we're going to change and we're going to grow, and holding each other hostage in who we married is stifling our growth as a couple, but also making a person feel like they can't ever become more than who we said I do to. And a lot of
we aren't the same people.
Right. And a lot of what I thought was, oh my God, this isn't who you were when we were dating. And he was like, well, duh, like I'm not supposed to be the same person. And it took me a minute to realize that I wasn't allowing him to grow. So that was one of our like hardest lessons, was allowing space to grow.
That brings me to this idea of managing expectations in a marriage, right? I know for me, I'm guilty. First year or 2, maybe 3 of marriage, when we'd argue, I'm arguing from a perspective of what I thought was, I just need you to understand me. And I think it came across of, I need you to adopt this perspective that I have in order for you to understand me and us to move forward. And I remember Paul, and I hated him for it, for these 3 years, would always tell me, the marriages that last, people just accept, who their spouse is, good, bad, or ugly. It's just, this is who I am. It's not about changing or adapting. It's just, this is who I am. Love me, like flaws and all. Yeah. I think I'm doing much better with that.
So you're accepting that now? Is that what
when you say accepting, I'm accepting it in my own.
Define accept. Define accepting.
Might have been a mistake.
You got this recording, right?
No, but I think I'm at the point now where, like, I'm slightly OCD when it comes to cleanliness. And he's a man, so he'll come home and he'll throw his shoes in the middle of the floor. That's really a thing for me. It's like, if I just cleaned, I would love for you to just put the shoes where all the rest of the shoes are, in the closet, on the whatever the case might be. But now it's just a matter of, do I really want to pick a fight with my husband about his shoes in the middle of the floor when I can just pick up the shoes and put them where I like them to be? He doesn't need them to be at the middle, at the front of the door. I do. So if it's something that I can control in that way to make myself happy, and he doesn't even notice it, so he's not doing it out of spite, or he's not doing it out of whatever ill intent I might conjure up in my head, but just move the darn shoe. Move the darn shoes. That's all I can say. Pick my battles. I think I've gotten good at that. Have I not gotten good at that?
At picking battles? Yeah. I think we both have. Yeah, with that.
He's going to compliment himself every time I compliment myself. So we're clear, guys.
So, Paul, what is one of your like hard lessons in compromise, or like adjusting and working together over the last 6 years?
Yeah.
As far as adjusting and working together,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, I think us just realizing the importance of partnership, in marriage, and
Yeah.
really kind of working with that knowledge. I think that's kind of what we really need to kind of what we're working toward right now
Mm-hmm.
is realizing that 100% that we're both on the same team and that we're both, working toward the same goal. And anything that, she's doing or that I'm doing is really usually geared toward us working toward, that goal with certain exceptions. I think that's, it's, we should be able to just come back to that common ground of, hey, this is where what we're working toward.
Yeah.
We're both kind of have each other's back with whatever we're doing.
I like
So,
that.
talking about partnerships, you and Winton both subscribed to the idea that you were contemporary traditionalists before marriage. You see where I'm going with this.
Oh, it's a whole setup. It's a setup. It's a setup. I thought you
Just
it's a setup.
temporary
It's a
traditional.
setup. Yeah.
There's no such thing. You guys made it up. You are just bottom line traditionalists.
Traditionalists. Yes, you're both now married to women who W guys as traditionalists. So when we're talking about this partnership, speak to me about what your ideal is in that regard. How do you see the partnership when you're thinking of marriage?
Well, I mean, when I hear traditionalist, I think, you got somebody who's hyper focused on, gender roles, and you do this because you're the woman, I do this because I'm the man. I think to a certain extent, some of that, is true because I think, yeah, obviously women, I think, are better suited at doing certain things than men are, and vice versa. But I don't think that means that, I always have to take the trash out or you always have to wash the dishes. That's the way it works out most of the time, but it's not like I'm necessarily trying to trying to push things
That's
in
how it
that
works
in
out
that
most
way.
of the time.
Right.
It just works out that way, But that's not like I'm trying to force it necessarily and force us into gender roles per se. I do believe that depending on what place you're in or what space you're in, what season you're in as a married couple, there are certain things that you need to do that both of us need to do to make sure the household is taken care of. And there's certain things that I'm not available to do that we basically are picking up the slack where the other one, can't in certain seasons in certain areas of the of spaces that the marriage might be in. I think you and I talked about this equality thing.
Yeah.
A while back when we were having this discussion. And for me, I think it hinges on. I think people get equality and equity confused. And that's like really the kicker, because they look at equality like, okay, well, we should both be treated the same way and we should both interact with each other in the same way. I should do the exact same thing that you're doing in terms of workload. And for the most part, that's just not the way marriage works. So at least from my experience, I feel like equity is a better way of describing it, because equity really focuses on making sure that each person has what they need to be successful, and that the marriage has as a whole what it needs to be successful, and each party will contribute what they can depending on where they are in life or where they are in the marriage or in the relationship. And it may or may not be 50% at a particular time, but 100% of the time the relationship will be at, we need to make sure the relationship is at 100%, the marriage is at 100% without contributions. So that's just.
Can I just say,
I married him.
Can I just say, he should just, like, we should just end this on that. Look, I'm sitting up there like, oh yeah. Like equity and yeah, I'm all for all of it. Like, what? Shout out to Southern University Law Center. If he didn't do anything else, he earned that degree.
Go thanks.
That was,
equity is kind of a legal thing that's in there.
But it was like so solid, and I loved it. Keep him, Ashley. He's not getting fired.
Listen, There's a double-edged sword for this, because understand, when you're arguing with someone to this degree, you got to come with a debate. Like, it ain't no normal, like, honey, I just don't feel like feelings. Well, let's define feelings exactly. What are we talking about? Like, it's a legit, like, no, let's have my arguments, my points, like, hit them when I'm ready. Like,
we do need to have our definitions down.
But I do love, like, I love his delivery, and I don't even know if I want to just ask you to piggyback on that, because I just felt like that was a lesson for me, and I'm just gonna start talking equity and equality. We just wherever we are in this season, the goal is that we are investing. I like that, Paul. Good. That was. Look, I was all in. Like, yeah, good one. Sorry, you can bounce off the next one. They don't touch it.
Here's the next one. Here, I'll throw it to you, Winton. Okay, so here's what I'm talking. Okay, you mentioned earlier Andriette's a crier. I'm a talker, right? And so Andriette and I, we know where all the bones are buried.
And we not telling nobody.
Thick as thieves. I mean, sisters like you would not believe. And we rely on each other a lot in our marriages, right? And I'm wondering, from a male perspective, how do you guys see that? Is it the friendship that Andriette and I share, for example, when we do talk about any and everything, nothing necessarily is off limits, and it's really a conversation geared around, hey, here's what's happening, challenge this perspective. Am I missing something? Okay, so then I should probably, I'm going to be convicted by the end of the conversation, is what ends up happening 90% of the time. But how do you guys see that on the receiving end of that? Is that something that you guys would dub as an asset, or is that more of an obstacle for you, knowing that, someone else out there kind of knows the inner workings? Because we're private, you and I are both, so we both subscribe to that idea.
You know what? As much as I thought that this was a gender thing, because I used to always say, like, women share, men decide women, right? But then I realized that household dynamic has a lot to do with how people communicate. I grew up in a very, very private household. I did not know how old my mother was until I was grown, because that was information you need to know in her mind. Social security number. I'm grown now, and I'm just now getting her social for documents. It was different. There was no barging into a room like my children do now. It was very different. You had to nod. It was just, and nothing was crazy or whatever. My mother was just raised old school. She was raised by older people, and who didn't talk about family issues, who did not do any of that, and you would almost get condemned if you talk about it. And to this day, we have some family stories and things that you better not talk about at a dinner table or even at a reunion or wherever you may be. And so I think household has a lot to do with that. So to answer your question, for me, I think it was a matter of kind of who knows. Because I never had a problem with people who were mature enough to handle my information. No. My issue comes in when people are not mature enough, and you can see it on their faces when you walk into a family function. You can see it on their faces when you walk into their home, that they are privy to some level of information about you that maybe you would not have shared with them, whether you were dead or alive. You know what I'm saying? And so I think for me, I still live my life, and some of that is positive and some of it is negative. And I acknowledge that. But I think also it's kind of a defense mechanism for me too.
That's a good point.
So are you cool with this relationship? Like, you cool with Ashley knowing where you're?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
He said I was mature. That's what I caught from that. That's what I heard.
Okay.
I got you, bro. I got you.
Look, I was covering myself, so when we got off, I didn't want to be like, so what does Ashley know about me? And what y'all been talking about? We're good. Okay.
So I've never been around Ashley when there's been a time where I have been able to tell that, and Ashley we've talked to Ashley in some even rough, tense moments.
Yeah.
And we've kind of been in the same vicinity, and even then,
good job, Ashley. Good job.
Thank you very much.
Hasn't led me onto that.
I will say before Paul answers his feeling about it, one thing that I encourage people to do when you said they have to be mature enough, when Ashley and I have confided or called or whatever, we never allow each other to sit in whatever our frustration is, even when it's kids. Like we never allow, like when the phone call comes in, you can hear it in our voices, but literally 5 minutes in, we're like, okay, wait a minute. Well, this is what I think you should do. And maybe you should look at it this way. And it's never targeted. And I love that about our relationship. Like we never focus the conversation on the person or the issue that we're upset about. It's perspective. So it's never Winston sucks and oh my God, I can't stand him. It's more so this is what happened. I didn't understand how he felt about it. Or this is what Olivia did and it drove me crazy. And I don't understand why we keep hitting the same roadblock. So I love that it's not, we don't allow each other to target a person, but it's more so help me process through my feelings. And I think that's what happened. That's what's important about maturity and people that you do confide in. What is the focus? And if it's tell me your business, then I'm not going to talk to you. Like I would know early on, like she's not a person I need to talk. Like you don't want to know how bad it is. You want to help empower us and make sure that we stay in it. And we focus on our perspectives so many times that it makes us so much better. And I think y'all both probably know when we talk to each other because our emotions shift and we try something different. Right? Out of nowhere, and y'all be like, where did that come from? It's probably because I talked to Ashley.
And let me be very clear for anyone who wants to try me. If you talk about my husband, baby, like you might hear me talk about him with a good friend, but if you talk about him, baby, like, don't know.
PSA.
Paul James can't
try me not.
No. They could catch it. Go ahead, baby.
Because I know one thing that I know for sure is like I know where Andriette's safe places are as it relates to like who she would land with the information. Because they're usually the same. It's the same person, right? It's pretty much
it's Ashley. Ashley.
Are you all shocked with because guys tend to compartmentalize a little more than you all do? So I would say that Andriette may be. I wouldn't say shocked because she knows the people, but I think that when we've had conversations and she has asked me who knows about X, Y, and Z, and it may be a subject or it could just be a season I'm in, I think generally you all get shocked from time to time about who maybe those people are because some of the most obvious people, whereas you all are the most obvious people, with y'all, I think sometimes she's like, I'm
all the time. I'm like, why you talk to him? Like, I need you to talk to my like brother. So like when we are having an issue, I can call my brother, but he don't even know. So now I can't call him. Thanks. Yeah. It's some random person that I don't have a relationship with, so I can't call to get perspective.
It's not really random.
It's random to me, is what I'm saying. Like it's not. It's like
I have vetted my people and had them sign NDAs.
He confides in people that are so far reached that I can't even like call to get like to mess up the perspective. It's a safeguard for him. I get it. I don't even have their numbers.
I mean, he also might want perspective of somebody who's not in it with them or as close to you.
Whatever, Paul. Whatever.
Whatever. You need that, you know.
I got you. I got you.
Boy, he having his points. I told you, you got to come with the hook, line, and sinker. Like you got to come all the way.
That was good.
Well, since he's dropping nuggets real subtly, Paul, how do you feel about like the friendships and the confidants and the personal spaces of support, or do you feel like it's detrimental to your relationship? Do you want me out your business, or do you want me to keep helping?
Well, you know, so Ashley doesn't really share anything much at all with me. So, you know, about you guys' situation. So I don't know what you guys, talk about.
Yeah.
So, it's not like we get into it very deeply, but I don't think for me, I don't have an issue with her. I think everyone needs, points of release and, places that they can go and kind of express and, genuinely, with that. Usually that's only limited to, one or two people anyway. And people, people's comfortable enough to do that. So, I feel like that's needed because, like I said, it'll back up and then, blow out in the next conversation and all that. So I feel like it's needed. But Yeah, I mean, another thing is, I mean, I trust her. So I mean, I trust her judgment when it comes to whoever she is communicating with. I trust that. I trust that she knows that we have some confidential information or whatever stuff that we don't necessarily want out in the streets, and whoever she's communicating with, that she trusts them as well. So I mean, they have my trust.
I want to ask this question though, because we're talkers. We like to talk things out. And when you brought up a valid point when you talk about compartmentalizing, Paul is extremely stoic. You are a pro at compartmentalizing. What can you say, or like, what is the outlet for people who don't necessarily like to talk it through? What's the alternative? What can other women be looking for? So like, we don't freak out that.
Don't like to talk it through with their spouse, you saying?
Well, just with because how many people do you speak to?
I think everybody
What's your
likes to talk it through. It's just depends on who they're talking to. Usually at least at one. Like I have, usually like one friend that I'll go and talk to, and we'll both kind of express and we'll talk through some things. But yeah, I mean, I don't have like multiple people that I do that with.
But you don't do it every time. Like I do it every time. But like
well, we'll probably catch up, every couple of weeks or something, and kind of if we need to. I mean, there's times where you absolutely need to get some stuff out. You need to vent. And
what you're saying is, I don't stress you out, honey. That's what you're saying. Yes,
he's looking far to the. He's looking far to the other side of the room.
We got a date night after this. Yep, the answer, honey.
I mean, look, there's always obviously going to be stressors in a relationship.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just a matter of what your stress relievers are going to be. If you're going to the gym, whether you're going to get on the phone with a friend or whatever, or a combination of those things. I mean, I think everybody needs those.
Yeah.
So
I like that because everybody doesn't talk. This girl here. I love that though, because everybody doesn't talk. And sometimes I look at people in the gym, I'm like, why are they here every day? But now I realize like it could be their outlet, which is a healthy way to like not punch a wall or not scream. They just go get it out in different ways. So I do think that it's important that however you decide to release it, that you do. And Paul made a great point. Everybody has to talk it out. Sometimes it's just like his is like maybe every 2 weeks or every week, whereas every moment we're like, hey girl, you free? I just need to bounce something. And a lot of times it's not like relationships. It's like, hey, this is going on in business. Like I don't trust everybody with my business, like business stuff, like entrepreneur stuff. Like I will call Ashley. Ashley knows everything about every area of my life. And then there's some people that I only share certain points so I do compartmentalize a little bit because I don't trust everybody with every aspect of my life. So I think those are important things. And it is good to know that gender-wise, men and women have a space of outlet, and it's not just a woman thing where we sit on the phone and talk it up. Right.
And also, therapy. That's another thing. It'd be nice to have like a regular therapist that you can call on a regular basis or set up a regular appointment with and kind of get the release from a professional standpoint.
And nothing has to be wrong. I think there's a stigma attached to that. I mean, we don't do it. We probably should, but we don't.
Definitely, yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a very valid point. I think people are so wrapped up in the whole, I'm only going to go to therapy if I have this traumatic event that happened, or, if I go to therapy, they're going to use this against me, my significant other or whomever. And yeah, I think we definitely need to normalize that as an outlet for people before anything actually happens, talk it out, talk it through. Yeah.
Anything you want to add?
Nope.
Nothing?
No, I just thought.
I'm not forcing you at all. At all.
I think this is great dialogue. I know we're coming up on time, so I don't want to overstand here. But don't worry, guys. We can always get the Hanchett and Anderson.
Are y'all down to come back?
We got to do it in person next time.
Oh, I'm here for that. On a vacation?
On the beach.
On the beach. Beach Chronicles. I'm here for it.
So we got a couple months before we get to the beach. So,
all we have to do is go south. Go south, baby. Go south.
Ambition.
Figure it out. Figure it out.
Good king bacon, some crawfish.
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh.
Don't get me started.
Well,
Mardi Gras. We're coming in town.
Okay, so we can do our next. Okay, that'll work. So we definitely want to thank you guys for chiming in and sitting with us again for another week of Kitchen Chronicles. Thank you for joining us in our kitchen and their kitchen. Winton and Paul, thank you guys for letting us get all in y'all's business and making y'all talk more than you probably ever would. And as Ashley said, try me not. He's taken. And he knows I will fight.
All the way.
Right?
And I'm just a phone call away. We can double team it. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah. We're trying to keep her calm now.
We got an attorney on deck, so we ain't even worried about the bill. Like, we good.
Amen. There we go. And he can talk you out of anything or talk you into anything. There's that. And then I got a praying pastor.
Man, yes. Faith without work. Faith without work
is dead. He's gonna kill me when I get off. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We are excited about our podcast, and me and Ashley have probably another crazy story to share next week. So thank you guys for hanging out, and we will catch you guys next week.
All right,
bye, guys.
All right.